All right, join us right now to talk a little bit about the Super Bowl matchup is former Bengals safety. He now hosts the opening drive on Sirius XM NFL Radio. It is Solomon Wilcots. Hey, Solomon.
Good morning, gentlemen. How you doing?
Doing great.
How are you enjoying Super Bowl week?
Enjoying it very well. Things are starting to stir here early this morning, and we're just now getting people coming through. All of 2 people are here on our set here on Sirius XM NFL Radio, but we'll be ready when showtime begins.
Are you a guy that's good with the self-discipline, with the Super Bowl being there in Vegas, able to stay away from the vices, concentrate on your gig while you're there?
Are you a blackjack player?
No, I'm not. I'm just a pro at what I do. I stay in my lane. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would have bet all the money that he was a pro. He doesn't mess with that stuff.
Yeah, I would have bet that,
yeah.
too.
I would have bet all the money.
Good, solid man, solid guy.
All right, so which way are you sort of leaning on this matchup? It's kind of intriguing, obviously. 2 powerhouse teams, Mahomes adding to the legacy. I mean, if Purdy's able to pull this off, my God. I mean, what kind of legacy does that set for him? Mr. Irrelevant.
Well,
I
and
know,
also,
right?
Yeah.
Well, no, you're right. Look, I think it's going to be a great game. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. The coaches are both offensive geniuses. And if you give them an extra week, they know how to, I think, move the ball against any defense. And I think that was clear last year. If you think about what the Chiefs did against a great Eagles defense, most people had the Eagles winning that game. And now Vegas has the 49ers winning this game. So I don't know why people keep sort of going and betting up against Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes, but he is the Grim Reaper. You give him the ball last, he's going to beat you. Mm-hmm. And I think the true test for Brock Purdy, and I do believe it's a legacy game for him as a young quarterback, last drafted as the final player in the 2022 draft, to be able to beat that pairing of Mahomes and Andy Reid in a Super Bowl, that would be huge for him. But we have to see how he performs on this stage, guys. I played in this game. There's a certain energy in a Super Bowl that you got to be able to handle it, man. You got to be able to block out a lot of stuff and still be able to perform at a high level.
So you played in that game when you were with the Bengals. I want to go back further, though. You played college football at Colorado. Now, you didn't cross paths with Eric Bieniemy, but what do you make of Eric Bieniemy's job prospects?
Think about this. I was part of the recruiting process when we brought Eric Bieniemy.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I grew up in Los Angeles, and I remember telling Coach Bill McCartney at the time, if you want to beat Nebraska and Oklahoma, we need to get some guys where I'm from. I know some guys who are not afraid of those schools and those programs. And we started recruiting the L.A. area really heavily, and he was very critical. And I remember telling him on this recruiting trip, I said, you're the guy. I said, you come here, everything changes. And he was such a dynamic personality with such courage and such strength. Everybody now knows his personality. He was always that way. Even as a freshman, this dude was a bad dude now. And obviously he delivered on that promise, bringing a national championship to the University of Colorado in 1990. That was 3 years after I had left the program. So I've known him, for a very long time. We've stayed close over the years. Look, what happened with the Washington team, I think he did a really good job. He brought some stability to that offensive side of the ball. I think Sam Howell had greater success with Eric Bieniemy than he's had at any other time. Obviously, he's had a short career, but his career is going to be fine for having spent time with Eric Bieniemy. But no, I think Eric's going to land somewhere. He'll be fine. This is a guy who's devoted to coaching. And if you knew Eric personally and some of the challenges he's had to overcome in his personal life, you'd be very proud of him, and you would see him through the same lens that many of us who know him intimately, the same lens that we see him through.
All right, so interesting perspective on Bieniemy that you actually helped recruit him to Colorado as we talked to Solomon Wilcots. So before we get back to the Super Bowl, let's talk about what's happening here in D.C. What do you know about Dan Quinn? Do you like him? And Kingsbury is in here as OC. So Bieniemy's out. Kingsbury's here. He's the guy who's been a head coach. and obviously has worked with really good quarterbacks along the way, from Patrick Mahomes all the way to Caleb Williams. What should Washington fans expect from Quinn with Kingsbury as his OC?
Guys, I have a lot of respect for Dan Quinn. I think he's a good coach. He's performed very well when he's been a defensive coordinator over the last 3 years. His Cowboys defense, when he took over that unit, they were literally the worst defense in franchise history. And immediately he turned them around. They've had the most takeaways. I think in 21 and 22, they led the league in forced turnovers by a defense. 93 over the last 3 years is the most by far of any defense in the NFL. But as you saw, there were some holes in that defense that teams sort of found a way to sort of crack the code and didn't finish strong. Mm-hmm. I look at a coach and I look at an offensive coordinator who's had opportunities in our league, both as head coaches, but have not taken teams to that next level. Now, Quinn did get a team to the Super Bowl. They had a 25-point lead by halftime. I'm going to give him credit for that. But this is recycling and maybe second chance opportunities. And I'm not saying people shouldn't get second chances because they should. But show me somewhere on the resume where there's been tremendous accomplishments that says they are deserving of the opportunity. I would have loved to see many of the new innovative coaches come in and be provided this opportunity. But look, if you're going to draft a quarterback who's a native of D.C. and maybe they have some ties to Cliff Kingsbury, and Cliff Kingsbury is going to do something with Caleb Williams that he could not do with Kyle Murray in Arizona. If that's the vision there, okay. I'm just not seeing it. Don't ask. If you're asking me, do I see it?
Ooh.
I don't see it.
No.
Interesting.
Okay.
I put it down.
All right. So for the game on Sunday, obviously everything with Kansas City goes through Mahomes to Kelsey. Now, Kelsey had one of the more quiet years of his career offensively. He only had the 5 touchdowns, but in the playoffs,
like 93 catches or
no, he had a lot of catches. But in terms of the playoffs, he's been dominant. He's been targeted 27 times in the 3 playoff games, and he caught 23 of those 27 targets for 3 touchdowns. And he was, he dominated Baltimore and he killed Buffalo. I still don't understand how he still gets wide open. In the Buffalo game, he's wide open for one of those touchdowns, Solomon. You got to help me out on some of that because, Sean McDermott's a good defensive coach. But how does San Francisco contain him? What do you think they have to do to make sure, when Travis Kelce's running a route, we got to know exactly where he's going. If we're not doubling him, we got to have someone that's just as fast or big, and he can't have 11 for 11 in terms of targets. So talk to me about how to defend him.
Yeah, I think you guys raised a really good question because think about it. If you stop Travis Kelce, you stand a good chance of stopping Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
It's not a lock. It's not a guarantee, but you better come in with a plan, right? And I think you've got to double team him. You got to do everything you can to take him away. Any defensive coach will tell you you can't take away one player, but you're going to pretty much do it at the expense of maybe some other things, right? And that means you got to leave some of those other guys one-on-one. That means you got to be able to lock down Marquez Valdes-Scantling one-on-one, and you should be able to. That means you got to lock down maybe Rashee Rice one-on-one, a rookie, and you should be able to. And so I would dedicate as many resources as possible. I'm jamming Travis Kelce at the line. I'm playing and giving help over the top. I'm in and out. Now, this guy reads coverages as well as any quarterback, and he knows how to sit down in coverages. He knows how to beat man-to-man coverage. He's very slippery, I'm telling you. Mm-hmm. Travis Kelce is a phenom when it comes to understanding coverages. This guy's a former quarterback, so there's great chemistry between he and Pat Mahomes. But you got to have a plan to take him away and force Patrick Mahomes to go elsewhere with the football and make someone else beat you. That's exactly what a Bill Belichick would do. That's exactly what the best defensive coaches would do.
On the flip side, Kyle Shanahan has now gone to the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo and Brock Purdy. All right, Andy Reid's a genius, but he's had Patrick Mahomes. He's got a Hall of Famer. Kyle Shanahan has Jimmy Garoppolo, who's now backup, and Brock Purdy, who's the last pick in the draft. And in that game 4 years ago, Garoppolo threw that huge interception. He was targeting Emmanuel Sanders, throws the interception, they lose. In your opinion, but they have got McCaffrey this year. All right, they had Mostert back then. Mostert was good, but they've got McCaffrey. How big is McCaffrey going to play a role in this game?
Yeah, look, Christian McCaffrey is phenomenal, right? And you've got to dedicate resources to him. And that's where I think really Spags is going to have his best game plan ever, because the more resources you dedicate to Christian McCaffrey, think about it, guys. This is the fourth team in NFL history to have a 4,000-yard passer and then have four players on offense with over 1,000 yards from scrimmage. Mm-hmm. And Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, and Deebo Samuel. So if you put all the resources towards CMC, those other guys can beat you. Brandon Ayuk can beat you. He broke the game open against the Detroit Lions. We know Deebo Samuel can put up huge numbers as a multi-position player. And Kittle is the best tight end in the NFL at generating yards after the catch. The guy turns into a fullback after he has the ball. And I think their fullback, Kyle Juszczyk, is one of the most versatile players. Remember, that's a position that's been phased out of our game at the NFL level. But yet he survives. He's the highest paid fullback in the NFL for a reason. And don't think for one reason that Kyle Shanahan won't use him as a piece on the chessboard to get a matchup advantage, because he's capable of producing as well. So there are a lot of people who can beat you on this offense. And to me, that's what makes the 49ers so difficult to beat. My biggest concern for them is their run defense has given up well over 100 yards in each of their postseason games so far. And so that means Isaiah Pacheco could play a huge role in how this game turns out.
Yeah.
Joined by Solomon Wilcots on the BetQL guest hotline. So tell us about the Macy procedure, knee cartilage repair using your own cells. We got a lot of 50-plus-year-old dudes in our audience that are dealing with knee pain. That
you got one here who's had 5 knee surgeries.
Yeah, guys, look, the Macy treatment is phenomenal. It really is one that where you use your own cells to grow your knee cartilage. The doctor goes in, they pull out healthy tissue, they send it off to a lab, and they're able to grow your tissue. Then they go back and put it in. It adheres to the healthy tissue and to the bone. It keeps you from deteriorating to that point where you're bone on bone, and you're ultimately going to have knee replacement surgery. So it's been widely successful. You should go to the website at Macy.com, MACI.com, to find a doctor in your area and to learn more about the treatment.
That sounds good.
Valdez, you might need to look into it. You get your MRI today? Is your MRI today?
Yeah, my MRI's today. Might have to ask my doc about it.
Hey, I want you guys to know, I wish I could give you at least more encouraging news on the hire of head coach and offensive coordinator. I could be wrong. I hope it works out, because I am a Washington football team. It's still hard for me to call them Commanders. I just want you to know. I am a huge fan of that team in that area, because you guys have a great fan base that we know spreads wide and large. And I'm really rooting for that team to get going in the right direction. I just know it was a chin scratcher for me when I heard the hires. But I don't want to be the Debbie Downer, so I just want you to know.
No, that's all right. Hey, we got him logged in. He's logged in. He doesn't think it's going to work. Right. He doesn't see it.
Yeah, you're on record.
You're on record.
I think we may have lost it.
We may have lost it, but that's fine.
We lost Solomon.
All right, that was Solomon Wilcots.
Not everybody does.
Yeah.
Not a Dan Quinn Kingsbury guy.
I guess it's weird because he doesn't understand why you're giving him a second chance. He believes in second chances, but there are so many other worthy candidates that deserve first chances. Maybe he's talking about a Bieniemy type. I don't know.